And we're live.
Well, call this meeting to order. Roll call, Mr. Hirsch. Here. Mr. Landwehr.
I'm here.
Mr. Probst.
Here.
Mr. Cowley.
Here.
Mr. Glanick.
Here.
Ms. Burnett.
Here.
The agenda was posted, let's do the pledge of allegiance. I'll lead. Just after that, we got the agenda. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Try not to skip any parts there. Okay, the agenda was posted throughout the district according to school board policy, published as a legal ad in Superior Telegram, posted on the district webpage, and sent to the WNXR radio station for announcement. A meeting notice was sent to the connection for publication. Item number 3 is approval of the January 13th, that's tonight's 2025 agenda, open and executive sessions. We will need a motion to approve that. Yep, a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. Number 4 is the consent agenda. And among the consent agenda is the 4A is the December 9th, last month's regular board meeting minutes. B is a treasurer report, and Mr. Landwehr.
A summary of the treasurer's report as of December 31st, 2024. General fund, general account on December 31st, 2024. There was a balance of $3,715,458.89 in cash and investments. Receipts since the 1st of January and not included in the December 31 balance are $25,499.13. And the disbursements from tonight's January 13th board meeting total $89,786.47. In the flexible spending account on December 31st, 2024, there was a balance of $24,377.17 in cash and investments. In the health reimbursement account on December 31st, 2024, there was a balance of $6,353.90 in cash and investments. In the debt service fund on December 31st, 2024, there was a balance of $674.41 in cash and investments. And a more detailed report on fund activity is included in the financial statements via your Chromebook.
Thank you.
Yep.
Item 4C was the payment of invoices, and all board members hopefully got an opportunity to review those, and if they had any questions, ask Mr. Petchikotter. Item D, resignations and employment and retirement. Mr. Moore.
Yeah, we have 2 retirements. Carly Brantmeyer has submitted her letter of intent to retire at the end of the school year after 24 years as the Northwestern Middle School Administrative Assistant. We also have Shelley Pearson has submitted her letter of intent to retire at the end of the school year after 26 years as a district custodian. We also have Deanna Stingle, a Title I paraeducator district-wide. She comes with experience from the school district. We're excited to have her. So we are looking to approve those 3.
So Deanna's not retired.
No, Deanna's not retired. That's a hire.
I was wondering, I didn't.
We're losing 2 and we're gaining 1.
Okay. And that's it for
That's
the
it.
Thank you. So we need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Cullen? Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Same. Motion carried.
I'd just like to make a point of saying that Mrs. Brantmeyer and Ms. Pearson, thank you for the service to the school district for 20 plus years for both of them, which is outstanding, and they will be missed.
They certainly will. I catch up on what the kids are doing when I see them. Have to call them that. And thank you. Approval items is item 5A, FFA trip to Stevens Point, January 17th and 18th, 2025. Just that far away.
This weekend. I hope you say yes.
Is the hotel room refundable?
So far, yeah.
So I'm a bit on the spot right now. So it's the halftime conference. It's a leadership workshop for the president and vice president of the FFA. And we build skills to carry into the second semester, and we increase local involvement in competitions like the CDEs and LDEs. And this will be Friday and Saturday, January 17th and 18th in Stevens Point. We'll leave at 8 a.m. and then, yeah. And then while we're there, we have a community service project, and we'll be purchasing like hats, gloves, mittens, like stuff for like snow gear and everything for the winter for like kids in need. And then our workshop is Hollywood movie themed. And that'll be Friday evening and Saturday morning, and then we'll return Saturday evening.
Okay, and who are the vice president and president?
I'm president, and then Kaylee Thomas is vice president.
Okay. And we did receive the detailed letter regarding this. Can we get a motion first for approval?
Any questions?
I have one question. How healthy is your activity fund?
We're good.
Good.
Yeah. The kids fundraise all for every leadership conference that we go to with the concession stand down football games. As long as the football team has successful seasons and has the multiple playoff games, we do very, very well.
They get out of your relationship.
All tied together.
Gotta be the bras.
Any other questions?
I'll make a motion to approve the FFA trip to Stevens Point for this weekend, 17th.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second. Any further discussion? Any further questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend. We'll see you.
Item 5B is the open enrollment policy and space availability.
Yes, every year in January, we go over the open enrollment space for special ed. And as you can see in your items, it kind of shows the CAT caseload size, the DTI recommended caseload size, caseload projected, the space available. Ms. Nielsen, do you want to add anything here?
No, I think that what I shared was very self-explanatory, so you guys have any questions?
We just have to approve that that we do not have any space available for the upcoming school year, and that anybody coming in open enrollment special ed would be denied because there's no space.
We do have spaces for general ed open enrollment.
It's not special.
Part of both. Just FYI.
Hiring people and stuff. Right? Any board members have any questions regarding this?
I got one. Does, are we still partnered with Rural Head Start? Does any of that have anything to do with this? If Rural Head Start has anything that would need special ed, or is that something that we have to provide, or is that something that they deal with on the law?
Feel free to jump in. But yeah, yes, we do partner with them. And so that would fall under kind of the birth to 3 and then early childhood services. So,
They're inside our district. So
Yeah.
they're not open.
No, I know that, but I mean, you got the early ECSE, I assume that's early childhood.
correct.
So that number, does that include our early childhood as well as Rural Head Starts?
It
And
does.
if Rural Head Start has a need for special ed, is that something that we as the district have to provide, or do they deal with it within their own federal?
No, we provide
We do.
those services, yes. Mhm. And these numbers, I mean, projected numbers for next year obviously will fluctuate, move-ins, move-outs. And then if there are any needs that we aren't aware of that are incoming. But yes, to answer your question, in our district, and we provide the services.
Thank you.
Typically, those would be open enrollment students over there.
No, but he just, I think Adam was just asking if we help fund them or do, or because they're Head Start and not in our buildings, if they do it on their own, they get federal funding, if we do it.
Right, well, I don't, I'm not super educated on Rural Head Start, other than I know if they haven't had, I think that's income qualified. And if they haven't met their capacity, they allow non-income qualified. And do they allow non-income qualified from outside of our district in? Was the question.
Yeah.
And I think, Adam, to clarify, that they do have students there, I believe, that are outside of the Maple boundary. So if that's the case, then they would not receive special education services.
Even though they allow them in and out. So-
Right, yep.
Okay,
So,
all right.
It's a countywide program, so other students are able to access it. Again, it is income driven, and there's a percentage above that they can allow.
Right.
But if the child, say, happens to live in, say, South Shore District, then South Shore would provide those services, not us.
Okay.
Good question, though.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Do we have a motion already?
No, we didn't.
Okay, we need a motion on this one.
I'll make a motion to accept the open enrollment policy for special education.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second, Mr. Kelly. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Recommendations from the curriculum committee meeting, which is the adoption of a new course at NHS and proposed revisions to the NHS course description book. Mr. Kelly?
Okay, well, I guess I can summarize. Mrs. Kroll proposed several changes to English, science, art, FIAD, as far as like renaming different courses for a variety of reasons. Combining FIAD 9 and 10 together to make it a little more flexible for scheduling. There was a class on early childhood education that needed to be, it used to be articulated, but we don't have a teacher that has the required background for that to continue, but it'll still be offered, it just won't be articulated. And then the new course is Intro to Education, which is for students who are interested in being teachers. And it's a 3-credit course run in cooperation with UW Superior. And I believe Phil McGrath would be the teacher of that course. So those were the proposals, and I believe we've agreed to recommend that all of these be approved.
Okay, is that, so that's the college credits with that? then?
College credits, yeah.
Okay, that's
3
awesome.
college credits.
That's awesome. And, it's good to train teachers up too.
Yeah, well, the idea is, I talked about this, I think, a couple months ago, the Grow Your Own program is kind of what they're pushing right now to try to, and then they thought it was and I think it's a great idea as well to, get students from their own district to get that experience and determine maybe, in high school that might be something they want to do.
Right.
And a lot of times, I know when I did it, I think I was a junior, senior in college before I actually got into a classroom and spent time with kids. So kind of late in the program to make a decision then. So I think it's a great experience.
Yeah, and so that's the recommendation of the committee is,
It's to approve.
okay, is there any other things?
Mrs. Kroll, do you have anything to add?
Kroll, anything to add?
I think you did a great job summarizing. You did it in about 2 minutes. It took me 30 to.
Well, keep that in mind.
I'm a science teacher, so we stick with the facts.
I mean, it's all, but and the revisions, renaming some of those or
They were minor changes,
Minor
for
changes,
example,
okay.
changing physics explorations just to physics. So the explorations, Mr. Coleman felt like made it seem like it reduced some of the rigor of what physics really is, and he wanted colleges to know it was a true physics class.
Okay.
So just a minor change.
semantics, I guess. But,
Yeah.
is there a motion then, or any other questions that anyone has regarding either the new course or the revisions to the other ones?
I appreciate the effort that you put into this, and I definitely make a motion to approve.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion. Is there a second to approve this recommendation from the curriculum?
Second.
We have a second, Mr. Lonnie. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, item 5D is a teacher calendar.
Yeah, so we had created a calendar, and there was some, not pushback, or just, concern about some of the days that, we had to come back. It was like, we had to start like, come back, maybe like the 23rd of December. I think we were in here, coming back in the 2nd of January, like on a Friday, and we also talked about the spring break. So we as an admin team kind of looked at it, the calendars, and we kind of made two different options. We had option A and option B. We put it out to the whole district staff to take a look at it. We had a vote on it, say, hey, what do you feel would be a better calendar? And this is the option that had the majority of the votes. It was probably 65-35 in voting.
Excuse me, 65-35?
Yeah, like 65 to 70%, were in favor of this calendar compared to the other calendar that we had. And really the only switches were, you have the full week off of Christmas break. You didn't come back on that Monday, the 22nd. Also January, you had the whole last week of December off. You had January 2nd off. You started school on the 5th. I think we put our spring break starting the week of the 14th. I think this year it's the week of the 9th. And then we kind of moved a couple days around where our last day of school for staff would be on June 8th. So,
And was this a committee that
went over? Like I said, the admin team kind of went over it. We brought it by some of the I gave it out to all the teachers to take a look at it, and they could vote on it. So it kind of gave them a say in what the majority kind of wanted. So this is what the majority wanted. So I think it's a pretty good calendar. If we could start, my opinion, if we could start on the 25th of August and be done on the 31st of May, we could, but the state doesn't allow us that, and we aren't eligible for a waiver from the state. So, but I think this is a good calendar. We're looking for approval.
Can I ask a question? Yeah, in August, now my colors run together a little bit, but what is that August 21 and 2?
That's new teacher in service. Or no, new teacher in service, some
Yes.
open house.
Okay.
And then, we start those teachers that day to kind of get them.
Yeah, no, I understand. I didn't see it.
Overload them with a whole bunch of information.
And you said last day of school being June 8th, but that's the last day of school for staff.
Yeah,
Students is the 5th.
5th, correct.
Okay, I just want to make sure. If somebody misheard that from a parent perspective.
And like I said, it's not that bad coming back on the 8th. Teachers have to come back that extra day. It's better than having to come in on January 2nd for a Friday. I felt. I feel the staff should have 2 full weeks off for the Christmas break. But that's okay.
Okay, any other questions? From
Well, 2 weeks after, we train the kids to come back.
Parents will be ready to send them back by that time, you think?
They might get back early.
Yeah.
Okay, we need a motion then to approve this as option B of the teacher calendar for next year.
I'll make a motion to approve the teacher calendar for 25-26.
I'll second it.
We have a second. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Opposed? Okay, item 6, report on cell phone survey at NHS.
Okay, so we, back in November, October, we were talking about cell phone policies in high school, and I know Mr. Smith wasn't here to kind of talk about it, but we listed some concerns about that. We put a survey together and surveyed the staff on it, and staff, teachers, and students. And I'm going to let Mr. Smith had the floor to kind of go over that survey with the staff. And tonight is just the informational piece for the staff, for the board, just to take in and soak in for a month, and then we'll kind of come back and talk, because we weren't going to do anything with the cell phone policy this year, but talking about for maybe next year, we can touch base on that recommendations in February. But I'm going to turn the floor over to Mr. Smith, and we'll talk about the cell phone survey.
So in December, we sent out a survey that we got to employees at the high school, students and parents of high school students. We got pretty good, I think, a decent response. 40 employees, 224 students, and 142 parents completed the survey. Ms. Landherd took the lead on developing the questions, going on doing some internet searches to come up with these questions. It's not like we sat and cooked these up ourselves. We researched, other surveys on cell phone use. Mr. Moore and I and Alexis sat down and discussed how we're going to get this out, the questions. And we at first kind of thought, well, that's a different set of questions for each group. But then we thought, no, we probably need to get a little more solid if we just ask all the same questions and get the same, the responses accordingly. So we had a 2.5 week window where we sent this out and got the results back that we shared with you. We kind of looked at what our current policy is. Our current policy is students can have phones here on their person. The teachers gets discretion in the classroom when they can have them out or if they can have them out. Some teachers are more strict than others with that. But then when the teacher says you need to take your phone out to do whatever, use a calculator, look up something on the internet, use it for personal use, play music while you're doing studying, the teacher gets that discretion. Later it talks about the consequences for violating those policies. First, since some people are aware, some people weren't aware of it, first violation is the teacher can confiscate the phone. We made that clear at the start of this year. When we redid our handbook, the teachers can confiscate the phone. They can keep it for the remainder of the class period, and the student has to come up and have a conversation with that teacher about the cell phone. If that behavior continues, the phone is confiscated, it is brought to the office, where we keep it for the remainder of the day. Till 3:25, the student has to come get the phone from Ms. Landherd and myself. At the end of the day, a third violation would be we confiscate the phone, we contact home, a parent has to come get it. So far this year's been pretty good. The last couple of years, we're a lot more violations than this year. I think at the time we first talked about it, there was like 9 referrals for cell phone violations. I think we're probably a little higher than that now. 15. I asked the office today how many phones have been turned into the office. They said 3, and we're almost to the end of the semester. I meet with our principal's council. I have a principal's council I started this year. That's 9 students I meet with once a month to talk about school issues. And their conversation was kind of consistent with this. Some teachers are more rigorous than others when it comes to the phone. Some teachers hold students accountable more than others when it comes to the phones. And I think that kind of showed up here. Each teacher has autonomy in their classrooms for the use of the cell phone during the class period. So we kind of started with, are they aware of the policy? Are you satisfied with the current policy? Our students held accountable, having kind of reflected what the students told me at the principal's council. Do you believe students have the one about the full access during their phone? That's your first warning.
Speaking of cell phone. Perfect example right there. You did that on purpose.
Thanks for
Well, as we say, not as we do.
Some of the questions, like the question about, should the students have why do you believe students should have access to their cell phone during school? you could put more than one response to that one, that's why it looks like a coloring box. Because people could put more than one response, we didn't make them pick one, they could pick a variety of reasons. You know, we talked about some of the challenges, obviously with cell phones, it's bigger issue probably in society than it is here inside our walls. But, so yeah, I mean, we didn't want to overwhelm people with a lot of questions. We thought were solid questions. We discarded a few, but we kept these and asked them all the same, so. I guess, any questions on the survey? I should start there.
I just did some math on there, and about 27% of people surveyed were extremely satisfied with the existing policy. 38% were satisfied, so that's 65% total, and 26% were neutral. 6.25% were dissatisfied with the policy, and 2% were extremely dissatisfied with the policy. So,
Well, just to look at the other side, over half of the people surveyed were the students. And so, of course, they're not gonna want a more restrictive policy.
yeah.
I'm just saying.
If
Well, that's why we broke it down into the three little circles.
Yeah.
One is employees, one is students, one is.
I didn't break it down.
Right. That's why
If
we.
half of them were students, then you could double.
The one question I looked at specifically was when should students be able to use cell phones in school? And for the employees, it looks like maybe about, I'm just spitballing by looking at your pie graph, but it looks like about a third of the employees thought that the current policy was teacher's choice. But it looks like the other 2/3 wanted something a little more restrictive. And then the parents, it looks like about half of them were good with the current policy as far as they know. And like half of them wanted it more restrictive. So, again, I don't think that, I never did think that there was a problem with enforcing the rules. I've always thought that if a student was referred for a cell phone use, that the office did a good job of addressing it. That was never my concern was always about what's best for education, what's best for learning, and whether or not it's a distraction to a student's learning. And I mean, that's where I've always come from. I just think it's a distraction we could do without.
On the second to last page, how can Northwestern High School improve their approach to student cell phone use? Could you, only the first part of each option is there. Can you tell us what, red is, yellow is? Like yellow says incorporate use into something.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
I think that's probably learning and enforce a policy of probably no cell phones. This is looking it up exactly.
Thank you.
I have a question. So clearly the individual teachers have the ability to make their own rules, I guess is what I'm describing as. How much awareness do you have with regards to what is that makeup within the school? I mean, how standard is it? I mean,
When I
do you even have any idea?
When I observe teachers, I see teachers telling students put their phones away, put their backpacks, keep them away, turn them off. They teach the lesson, and then some will say you can have your phone on now. I walk around the halls every school day. I look in the classrooms every day. And maybe I'm biased, I don't know. You can accuse me of being biased. I don't see a lot of cell phone use, especially at the start of the class periods when the instruction is being done. And I'm around every day.
If you don't mind, Brian, I would just say that for me, I think it can be different depending on the content area. In math, it's very lecture specific. I see Oscar's kind of nodding. In English, like they do for kids who maybe have a lower reading level or they have the option to listen to the text. So sometimes that's done. They can go into Google Classroom either on their laptop or if they do it on their phone, then it connects to their earbuds and they can listen to the story if it's reading time. And a lot of kids, if they can listen while they follow along, that can help them to comprehend and understand. So you might see them, depending on what's happening in the class and if there's a use for them, out more in depending on the content area and what they might be doing. Like in FIED, you don't ever see a phone really, or Tech Ed, there's not really a reason that I'm aware of, but there are times in different content areas that they might use them.
I guess what I was trying to get from the question is, if I'm a student, how do I know what the policy is for this classroom versus this classroom?
On the first day of school, the teacher should have went over their expectations.
So it's a verbal expectation.
It's probably also in their syllabus. They go
In
over
the
the
syllabus?
syllabus on their first day.
And it probably varies day to day depending on what they're doing.
So when you say they use their phones for like look up additional information for homework, taking notes, listening, why can't, all that stuff can be done on your Chromebook, right? Like what would you look up, what would a teacher tell you to look up that's, you need to use your phone? Maybe that's.
There are days.
I mean, I have an example right now. I'm not gonna lie, my Chromebook is dead, and I came here. I was driving it off the house. I was like, shoot, that thing is dead. And I knew I have all my Google Classroom apps. I have Docs, Slides, Drive. It's all on my phone. So there have been times where today I was just editing what I wanted to write down today on my phone. So it comes in handy too.
But I ask on that
With
question,
the charger.
if that wasn't an option, would your Chromebook be charged?
Could see myself paying more attention to that. But if I have more tools, then I'm gonna, use both of them.
Then the next thing is, if it's not this policy or procedures, then what's the next one? What would we do? Purchase the pouches, put them in their lockers, then, then the pouch is hanging there and the kid walks in the room, the kid doesn't put their phone in the pouch. The teacher says, put your phone in the pouch. The kid says, I don't have my phone. And the phone rings during class in the kid's backpack. Now you've created some conflict between students and teachers that may be not necessary. Or we put them in the lockers right now during passing time. You come out to our commons during passing time. Kids are spread out across the commons. Some are on their phones, some are visiting. Bell ring, our commons is empty. I'm concerned a little bit. Bell rings, so no phones in the classroom, in your lockers. Bell rings, everybody's going where? To the locker bay. To the locker bay, grabbing their phones, and now we got 300 kids in our locker bay on their phones till the bell rings. Does that create another issue that we don't have?
Their locker bay is not crowded.
No, not at all. Most of them, going further, we allow backpacks.
One thing I recently learned, like just things that we might not think about, is that any student who's enrolled in a college course through UWS, if you log into their online platform, which is Canvas, you have to have an authenticator app, which is what we have to have for Skyward. So if anyone has to do this, I feel like it's new in my life. So you have to have this app and it will send you a code and you have like literally 10 seconds to enter it from your phone. To get logged in, and anytime your screen times out or you close it, need to reopen it, you have to get a code to log in and it has to go to your phone.
And
so that's just an example that I was just helping kids get enrolled in classes these last few weeks, and that I feel like is a new thing. I didn't have to do this authenticator app before this semester.
And that's when you're logging on to UWS's class online on a computer, and then you have to go to your phone to the authenticator to type in that 6-digit code.
Yeah, and it happens fast.
It does.
It takes it's like 5 seconds or something. Because the first 2 times we didn't get it done, it was like, it's go time. We gotta figure this out.
Okay.
She has something to say?
Could you speak up?
The UWS classes on Canvas,
it's kind of easier because like you have to do the verify thing like on your computer. You don't have to do that if you're like logging in on your phone because it's like automatically signed in and it knows that it's your phone. So if you're doing something that doesn't really require like your computer, it's kind of easier just for like accessing things like for your college course.
So during the day, when do you work on your college course during the day?
Just like if I have any downtime during class.
But our classes that are on campus use them as well, like American Lit. And we just changed the name, English 222. College Calc will use Canvas. That Intro to Education class uses Canvas. The UWS Intro to Communications and the Teacher Ed class will all use it.
That's part of it is we need to teach them cell phone responsibility. That is an issue we had to address with students, how to be responsible user of social media and cell phones. It's a big issue.
Another thing that not everyone realizes that just for me personally is anytime I'm meeting with a student to help them fill out a college application or register for the ACT, or I'm trying to think, create really all these different accounts that they need, you can't create an account without getting the text or the verifications if you've ever had to do that. And sometimes that can be hard with our Wi-Fi or cell phone service. But that you have to have, so when I registered the whole junior class for the ACT, they all have to have a phone to register. It's one of those things where you don't realize how often I do that in a day when I'm working with kids.
So a kid that doesn't have a phone can't register. I mean, what do you do?
We've never had a kid that.
You never had a kid that doesn't.
So if there was,
Your kid's in his first.
so if you had like the organizer in the classroom, that wouldn't affect what you need to do with them when you call them up into the office to do something with them. They'd still have their phone with them.
Yeah, I'd have to make sure they all brought
Or
it
if
with
they were in
them.
one of these college classes that required them to authenticate, that could be easily say, well, go ahead and grab your phone to authenticate. And I mean, we're not talking about like you couldn't possibly operate without.
They're just some real life examples that you may not realize we use
Sure.
them for.
Could a teacher, in setting a policy for their classroom, implement the pouches on their own and have any?
Well, I know we have a teacher already that does not allow their cell phones in the class. They keep them in their backpacks in the back of the room. And I know they're pretty, it's just the way it is. And there's no issue with that. So, I mean, they can if they want to.
So they could.
Mr. Adam, you got a question?
Think about it. Well,
Well, I mean, as a whole, I talked to Mr. Granlund earlier today. I've got two feelings on this. My personal feeling is just be done with them. On one hand. On the other hand, is if you empower Mr. Smith to set a policy from whatever he wants, to say the teacher set the policy in your classroom, and I've never taught, so. But I would think if you're a bit of a stickler, to start and say, you know, I have a no cell phone policy in my class, and I use this example being, you know, you're in the class and Dan, put your phone away. And then tomorrow, Dan, put your phone away. On day 3, morning, Dad, give me your phone. I mean, you can set it pretty doggone quick if you want to. I'm not sure, and this is just a gut feeling, I'm not sure all the teachers want them gone. Maybe from a personal aspect, but it was also brought up, I think, last month or the month before when we brought this up. Do you then take their Google Watch and put that somewhere else, and their ear thing and put that somewhere? Pretty soon it turns into a lot. So for as much as I think you should not have them, I'm not sure how you. At some point, is the tail wagging the dog in the fact that you said, is everybody at the locker room and is everybody doing this, and it creates another problem. I'm not saying I have an answer.
We have kids with 2 phones.
We have kids with more than 2.
Yeah, we've had kids who we confiscated the phone from, an hour later, You think, how'd you phone back? They had two.
And then sometimes
It
there's
just
third.
gets to be a,
I think if you end up giving the teacher, but you have to be consistent, you know? And I don't know how easy that
this
is.
year's was much better than last year, or the year before, in terms of, I mean, it was last year, 2 years ago, it was like a weekly occurrence, something, but we were confiscating cell phones. I'd have 2, 3 lined up on my shelf in my office. This year, now, maybe the teachers have given up, I don't think so, because like I said, I buy classrooms probably every period of every day. In classrooms. Don't see a lot of it, haven't heard a lot of teachers say, this kid or that kid is driving me nuts with their phone. And we've had those kids, like, you know, just absolutely, just like you said, every day. It's an every day. Hasn't, for whatever reason, it hasn't been like that this year. It could change next semester, it could change next year.
Well, this is good discussion, and it isn't just confined to Northwestern High School. It's a national issue right now. I think if it's getting better this year, I think part of the success is this discussion and the fact that I believe you talked to the students in the beginning of the year and told them that the board was discussing this and could be changes and, you know.
Full disclosure, I don't think I threw the board on the bus, but I said the board is looking at this.
That's fine, where we were.
Okay.
That's fine, just
The board is looking at this, you better follow the rules,
Right.
and I think the student body has responded.
And I would say that the board is not just looking at this, but we are very, if the administration and the teachers are saying this is a problem, they're gonna have our support.
Mhm.
So that's the communication that
Just
I
like the teachers have the support of the administration,
Yeah.
the kid gets their phone confiscated.
I would say if we continue to enunciate that to the students, we will, you know, it would help.
So we
So,
do.
So the plan is in February to come back with I'll let you have go ahead.
I would just say, I will reiterate the, cell phones aren't going away, but being able to understand how to balance them, like, when I think back to 3 years ago in my other life work, it was like you could never have your cell phone on you. And now it's the expectation that you have your phone on you because we're using it for communication. I mean, people will pull up patient stuff, like, it's become the expectation to use it for work, but not for your personal stuff while you're at work. And so I think it's that, how can we help the upcoming workforce understand there's a time and a place, use it for what it's intended to while you're doing that. Your personal stuff happens at another time. So I think if we can really start to educate them on when to use it, when not to, I think that maybe will set them up to be successful in the future.
And I don't know what colleges and universities expect or have in place for, I don't know what they do. I guess I've got enough my hands full just at high school level, but
I don't think they care, I'll get your money.
As long as you pay your tuition.
I don't care.
Yeah.
So the idea was to just present this tonight. Have you guys think about it? We come back in February with a recommendation to the board, and you guys can decide what we want to do. So,
okay,
One thing that's interesting about the colleges, just as like a side note, is they don't, like admissions counselors don't hardly email anymore, everything is through text. It's like they all have their cell phone numbers and they text them because kids don't do email. So it's like, you know, like I was just talking to a student today and I was like, what is their email? I'm gonna email them a question and they're like, well, I just have their, you know, we could text them, and I was like, okay, we'll go with that. Just, they're adapting to, I guess I would say.
I was at UWS and this weekend I talked to one of the employees there. I just happened to ask him, when's the last time you mailed a letter? He says, huh? Never. It's just this technology. Okay, thank you. And item 7, policy revisions, a special update. The first read, no action is taken at this time.
Yeah, these are just first read updates. A lot of these have to do with the business office, just some technical stuff. The H is 5430. This is something that Steve wants us to put in place so we have it with our Lowry system in class ranking nets.
Could you read those for the people online?
Sure, I'm sorry. So we've got policy 4440, job-related expenses. Policy 6110, grant funds. Policy 6111, internal controls. 6112, cash management of grants. 6114, cost principles, spending federal funds. Policy 6325, procurement, federal fund grants. Policy 7310, disposition of personal property, and then 5430, classroom. Those are first reads for us, and we will come back in February to approve the second reads.
Okay, so I encourage, I implore all of you to read that before next meeting.
You have fallen asleep, go ahead.
Try
A
today.
lot of these policies we have to have on file in order to get federal dollars. So I recommend that we write it down something next time we get together.
Good advice. The administrative report, Mr. Warren, A is communication.
Communications. Number one, we have communications include a donation letter in the memory of Mr. Daryl Kaldor. A thank you from the family of Gloria Dumanson for the memorial sent. Thank you for the Disabled American Veterans East Valley Chapter 8 for donation sent in the memory of Richard Butcher, and a quarterly report from our social media company. Those are our communications.
Item 8B, school board verification of election and drawing of ballot order.
Yes, we had our verification the other day. Mr. Cowley was here, certified the following procedure of the drawings, determine the order in which the school board candidates' names will appear on the ballot for the spring election to be held on April 1st, 2025. The name of the candidates were put into a container. One name was drawn at a time, and the names of the candidates were placed in the same order that they were drawn from first to last. First person is Alita M. Johnson. Number 2 is Jeremiah N. Glonick, and number 3 is Mr. Chris Schultz.
So no primary necessary.
No primary necessary, sir. So we're set to go, and we got Mr. Cowley, and then Mr. Andy Lynn, and Mrs. Nancy Lynn were the appointed citizens to represent us. Do that.
Okay. Up first. Item C, liability and property casualty insurance.
Mr. Petchak.
This one's me. We review these insurances on an annual basis. So the report there, the board enhancement is some of the realities that we face. So the valuation of our buildings increased by just under $3.4 million. Our property insurance continues to be the biggest hurdle. We cannot get another insurer to provide a quote, which, to be frank with you, makes me nervous, but we are trying to, mostly because of our fire rate, is what it boils down to, is if there were anything with that. With our rural location, it becomes a big risk for insurers to look at. And as you guys see there, you can kind of see how the insurance premiums for property have increased. Over the course of 3 years, we've increased over $50,000 alone on that property. And then not only does that happen, but they've adjusted our deductible schedule. And there isn't much, well, I shouldn't say there isn't much, there isn't anything I've been able to do. This is kind of what it is. And this is in relation to some of the natural disasters that we've had. Insurance companies are unfortunately really cracking down on a lot of different things. Most recently, California, we're all aware of as part of that. We are always looking for ways to decrease our premiums, but it's just a very, very difficult market at this time. And unfortunately, I don't see it changing in the near future. The other areas, the big areas that we saw increases on workman's comp, which obviously we have to carry, and then commercial auto increased as well. So in total, we're looking at about $45,000 more insurance premiums this year compared to last year.
I'm sorry, what makes us such high risk?
Our fire class rating, so we're a rural property, there's not a professional fire department.
They look at the fire department providing fire protection.
Yep.
Volunteer, and they have older equipment and.
They ask you how far the hydrant is.
Yeah, how far the hydrant is.
This building's the only one that doesn't have a sprinkler system. but it's not on any kind of city water source. Our containment tanks and obviously our wells, but the other buildings don't have any kind of fire suppression, which also impacts that. So, in short, if there were a fire in these buildings, the insurance companies anticipate a rather large loss. Because the time to get that fire out, fact of the matter is, it's just going to take longer.
Issue
We need our volunteer firefighters departments here to battle the blaze than it would be if the fire department was a mile away. So that's the biggest issue that we face, which is why, like I said, we're not able to even get another provider to bid at this point in the game. Keep fingers crossed that continues.
Part of the inflation thing too.
Do you know, are there any districts who've gotten to where they have no enrollment treatment?
Not that I'm aware of. That would be a big, I'd have the board make that decision for me.
Somebody will always write it.
Yeah, somebody will always write, it just depends on for what.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might not like the price.
Okay, item 8D, maintenance update, also Mr. Punch Carter.
Pretty standard stuff. It was a fairly quiet week from the maintenance world of things, mostly because of our Christmas break. The leads are fairly quiet over break time. General stuff going on right now.
And we did get that report, so thank you.
Yep, that's in there. Nothing
Any questions?
Nothing out of the norm on that.
Anybody have any questions on that? Okay, item 8E, donations, some more.
Yeah, we had a few donations this month. Kayla, Gary donated 2 bags of art supplies for NES Art Room. Gary and Laura LaJoy donated $600 in gift cards, $300 for an Iron River family and $300 for an NES family. Whispering Pines Church donated a wagon, 4 boxes of food, and $500 in cash and gift cards to our families in need before Christmas. And then Peggy Klobuchar and Rick Lucius donated $100 to the Iron River Angel Fund to assist in lunch balances. We thank every one of those people for their generous donations to our schools.
And they do get written, thank you.
Yes, they do.
Thank you. Item 8F, WSB correspondence and legislative report.
Is that me?
Yes. Mr. Bowman.
Okay. Well, there wasn't much in the way of new laws or proposals since the new state legislature just got started up again. They've mainly been setting up committees, selecting members to run those committees. Governor Evers' State of the State address will be delivered on Wednesday, January 22nd. The governor's budget address will be delivered on Tuesday, February 18th. The state's superintendent race is set with 3 candidates. A primary will be held February 18th. The race will see 2 challengers, Jeff Wright, the superintendent of Sauk Prairie, and Brittany Keisner, a former special education teacher, administrator, and reading advocate, to take on Dr. Jill Utterly. With 3 candidates in the race, the primary will be held. The election will be on April 1st, the actual election. And lastly, a record $70 million in funding for 2025 was announced for public school libraries. For more than 90% of the libraries in the state, this funding is the sole source of financial support for books, technology, and other essential tools. There wasn't really a lot other new information.
There was one thing that just came across my desk, that the Biden administration has pulled back the Title IX laws that they kind of invoked August 1st. So now we're all the people that didn't work in compliance with Title IX are now in compliance with the old one. So we're in good shape with that.
Okay, thank you, Dan.
Yep.
Item 8G, Mr. Gunn.
Okay, from the CISA 12 meeting last month, we had a report on the youth apprenticeship program. CISA 12 had 69 students in the program. They went over some of the benefits for students, obviously learning how to work and getting working a job they may like. Some of the downfalls though is for staff, with all the paperwork, checking in on students and employees that they work for, it's an extra 8 to 10 hours extra per student. And so a lot of schools have kind of attacked it as a team approach, have multiple staff helping with that. The strategic plan update, Dr. Madison just went over employee growth over the year and how they monitor that. The directors over there have been very busy on a state and local level. And next meeting is, we take January off because they have the convention. And then February 18th is my next meeting.
Thank you, Lee, for being the representative to CISA for our school district. Okay, item 8H, we did get reports from the Northwestern Elementary, United River Elementary Schools, Northwestern Middle School, Northwestern High School, Athletics and Activities Director, and the Director of Special Education. We appreciate those. Does anybody have any questions regarding the reports that we received?
We do read them.
Well, for the middle school, yeah, I agree with the ugly sweater winner. That's all I'll say. You find out about that on your own.
Duly noted.
Okay, and then student representatives.
Um,
I guess you got it all.
yeah. First up, sports. So girls basketball they have an 8-4 record, and then they're currently undefeated in conference play and first in the conference. And then boys basketball is 4-4, and they play Cumberland tonight. And they lost their game in Cameron and played 2 overtime matches over Christmas break. And then Dance Line hosted a youth camp where youth dancers got to dance alongside the high school team, and then at a basketball game. And then they also competed in Eau Claire for their first competition of the year and finished as a team in both pom and jazz performances. And then girls hockey, they only have 1 loss so far in the season. They had a good game against Cloquet and Rockridge recently, and then they play tomorrow night at home. Gymnastics had their last match in Eau Claire. There was tough competition, which led to a struggle in team points, but individually, the girls scored very well with their scores all going up from the last match. Wrestling, they were in Ashland on Saturday. I don't know much more than that, but I heard that Seth and Julius, they won their weight classes, and yeah. And then activities, band and choir, pep band, has been playing at boys and girls basketball games, and then we hosted the alumni pep band for a boys game, and then pit band for musicals starts tomorrow morning, and sports band, it's kind of like pep band, but it's kind of a smaller group. We'll be playing at a couple games in January. And then Chambers Choir and Vocal Jazz went caroling to the middle school and elementary school Friday before Christmas break to sing jazz and Christmas carols. And then musical, it's The Wizard of Oz. Rehearsal just started. DECA, they competed at Stout on Saturday. They had 2 event medalists, 4 event finalists, and 2 third-place finishers. Their next step is the State Career Development Conference in Lake Geneva at the end of February. And Student Council planned for Snow Week, which is starting next Tuesday when we come back. We have all the dress-up days, and then Friday we will have a dance after the boys' basketball game. Snow King and Queen will be named. Also, they have advisory activities all week, talent show, student staff basketball game, court games, and dodgeball. And then VAC this year, we have a full team of 12, so that's exciting, and hopefully it stays 12. And then everyone started their long-term projects. FFA, they have the leadership conference in Stevens Point, the 17th to 18th, and then the quarter ends.
That is a lot. That is a lot.
Yeah.
And thank you very much. Winding back a little bit to Mr. Smith's report. Last week you were at a meeting on Monday about regarding name, image, likeness. Is that coming to Wisconsin? Did you know what?
WIA would like it to, I believe.
Who would like it to?
The WIA.
Okay.
There was language presented last year at the annual meeting about high school students and the use of name, image, and likeness for businesses, websites, social media stuff, where kids could make money on their name, image, and likeness. It was voted down by the membership last year. My opinion is I think it was a little rushed. that the people at the meeting, which tend to be athletic directors, were just a little nervous about it. I think a lot of us are philosophically opposed to it. I'm philosophically opposed to NIL for high school kids. I don't know if we can dig our heels in on that, because if we don't, the state legislature is going to.
So here's what's coming. Ms. Hauser has done a very good job with the WIA of getting this out there and what they want to do. They want to get in front of this instead of having the state legislature say, hey, this is what you're going to do. Now, I do believe there are 38 states that already have NIL in place. We are bringing it to the annual meeting in April to try to get it approved. Now, this is something that protects students as well as school districts. So if let's just say I had a son that wanted to Pablo Lumber wanted to have him be the person, and he wanted to be their poster boy in that. As long as he didn't have a Northwestern jersey on, he could be on that billboard and he could make whatever they want. Now, are we talking kids getting $100,000, $1 million? No, we're not talking about that in Wisconsin. I do believe 2 years ago there was a junior in California that football player that made $1.3 million for a car dealership. Because there's some states that do push it and it's big time money. But this is something to protect our student athletes, to protect the schools, to make sure kids stay eligible. The verbiage in there is very good. It's out in front of it. Like I said, the WIA is a privately owned organization. It's run by the membership, which is all the schools, the public schools, the private schools, the charter schools. It is not run by the state legislators. Like in Minnesota, the Minnesota State High School League is run by the state, the state's association. It's run by the state. So they're totally two different entities. And we don't want legislators telling us, the WIA how to run the business, because they're not a state organization. So they're working hard to make sure this is done right. They're doing it under the guidelines of NFHS, National Federation of High School Sports. I think I think it will pass, and I think it will pass by significant numbers this year.
They have, the meeting I was at was they hired a consulting firm out of the Milwaukee area that specializes in this to act as a consultant to educate the membership. So we jumped on a meeting. It was just the District 1 ADs on Monday. Wednesday, the WA is doing a mid-year thing with the superintendents and principals. It's going to be on the agenda. And NIL, and then there's another one coming out on January 28th. So they've hired this firm to educate the membership about NIL, do's, don'ts. Everybody's a little nervous about it,
Yeah, well, let's read.
Everybody's a little nervous about it. So,
significant havoc on the college scene.
but there's no transfer portal. The portal's out of it.
We already have that.
Huh?
We already have that.
It's called open enrollment, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It is a hot button issue right now in the state of Wisconsin, like I said, because we're one of 12 states who don't have anything yet.
Before you go, can I say there was, and I don't know this young man, but there was an article in the paper on Logan Jones, wrestler for Northwestern, and I think he won his 100th match with it, which I think is a pretty big deal in wrestling, and that young man's gone through a very difficult month and a half. So if you get a chance to read the article, I know some kids, we talk about sports and everybody can have their opinion on that, but sometimes that's a real outlet for these kids, and I think he's utilizing that right now to try to get through some of his grief. And
That's a very good
take it.
Thank you for bringing that up. Okay, well, student, staff, and community recognition.
Yeah, we had a couple, I just want to touch base on. Last month, we kind of mentioned it after the live stream stopped, but we'd like to recognize NHS business teacher, Mrs. Laura Johnson. One of her recent graduates shared a sincere gratitude for everything she taught her students. students in fiscal finance and accounting classes while at NHS. In fact, it was noted that these lessons have been instrumental in students' ability to accelerate in their collegiate classrooms. So thank you so much, Mr. Johnson. And then we got a really nice letter from Coves Trucking. Sent a letter commending the students for Tiger Manufacturing and Mr. Charlier and the outstanding job they did marketing or making their fire pits for their employees. A copy of the letter was in your Google Drive to read. But if you saw these fire pits that the kids made for this company, that they said, hey, we're going to make all these fire pits for our employees, it was just phenomenal. And I know Mr. Charlier was talking to students about, all the projects they did, and I walked by his classroom, I just stopped in and I just said, the work that you do with the house and everything you do is so appreciated by everybody in this community. I said, you guys, I mean, every one of you, if this is the field you want to go into, are going to be dynamite in the workforce when you get out. And Mr. Charlie just kind of laughed. He goes, I didn't plan that. He just came in at that time. But I meant that because they do. I mean, they've made stuff for me, and it's just amazing. It's just great stuff. And and I've had some friends. My brother-in-law was here last week, dropping my truck off, and I think it was it was last week. And I showed him the house that the kids made, and he says, "Oh my God, that's amazing." I said, "Yeah, they do the classes start right away the first week of school, and they've been doing it for 55 years, and it's just it's something that's just really appreciated by the people in this community." So, hats off to Mr. Charlie and Tiger Manufacturing.
Thank you. Item 9, comments from the audience, and now that we have concluded the business portion of the regular meeting, we will end the live stream. The comments from the